teacher wasn't very enthusiastic because of her age. Named by some as the Gwen Stefani who didn't sell out. Yeah, I don't make this shit up. Lena Scissorhands, her real name Elena Cataraga, of Moldovan metal band Infected Rain, has a very interesting story to tell. From a broken family to lifting weights to being covered in tattoos, you're gonna fucking love this one. Born and raised in Moldova, Lena's father is Armenian and her mom is a mix of Polish and Greek. Her parents spoke Russian to each other, so she was raised in a Russian-speaking environment. However, the language in her kindergarten and school was Romanian, so she picked up that language too. Her parents were both traditional dancers. That's how they met. They danced with a big band with a lot of musicians, but ultimately didn't pursue it professionally. Her mom was also a nurse, which is why Lena wanted to be a nurse when she grew up. Lena is the oldest of 3 sisters. Moldova is a small poor country in Eastern Europe, but famous for its fertile soil and export of fresh fruit and vegetables. Interesting fact, when Lena was 10 years old, she was sleepwalking and fell from the stairs from the 2nd floor. This happened only once. As a young child, Lena faced a frightening and unsafe reality. Her parents' relationship was rife with conflict, especially as they were really young when they had their kids. They lived in a really small one-room apartment and she and her sisters watched the constant fighting between their parents. Fun fact, when she was very young, she says because her teeth were weird, the other kids would make fun of her and call her a vampire. But it didn't make her sad. In fact, she would run around scaring them off. More on her teeth later, so stick around. They didn't have that much to eat or wear. Lena and her sisters would share clothes. Her mom worked very hard, picking up a lot of jobs, so she was never really around. But the girls had each other. Her parents eventually separated when she was 9. And between 10 to 13 years old, Lena was taken to live with her father in Armenia. This is where she picked up the Armenian language. First time moving to a new country, new language, new people, it was really difficult, especially because she felt so alone. She describes it as an interesting period in her life, but she wouldn't change it for anything because it made her who she is today. At 13, she eventually returned to Moldova to be with her mom and 2 sisters, which was awesome. But then her mom got a job in Italy, leaving Lena, the oldest, to look after herself and her sisters. Although this was once again another challenge in her life, she was quite settled in. She'd met her first boyfriend and started working as a hairdresser and a makeup artist. Fun fact, when she finished hairdresser school, her friends started calling her Lena Scissorhands and even gave her a t-shirt with a new name on it. And the name stuck. Just when she was finally in control of her life, her mom moved Lena and her sisters to a new town in Italy near Rome. Once again, new language, new culture, and so she had to face these new challenges. She worked as a barista in Italy during the summer, mixing and preparing coffees. Lena speaks 4 languages fluently: Russian, Romanian, English, and Italian. She also picked up some Armenian when she lived there with her dad, but lost touch when she moved. She studied languages in university and had English as her first language and Spanish as her second language. After years of living in Italy, Lena moved back to Moldova, and although it was her country of origin, it never really felt like home. Her favorite childhood memory is the first time she went to the sea. Around 16, Lena started experimenting with her looks. Her tattoos and dreadlocks happened long before she joined the band. We'll cover some fun facts about her tattoos in a bit. As Moldova was previously a part of the USSR, specifically the older generation were extremely judgmental if you looked different. Lena was never into singing or joining a band. No one in her family sang or played an instrument either, but she was curious because she had a lot of friends who were musicians. She was introduced to alternative music at 13 through her friends. Her biggest love at the time was Nirvana, but her real crush for metal started at 14 and even heavier sounding bands at 16. The heavy guitar riffs and brutal vocals always fascinated her. She felt like metal could wake up feelings she never had before. She started to watch local bands in Moldova, then Russian bands. With her first salary as a hairdresser, she went to a store selling cassettes and picked up Slipknot's Iowa and Sepultura's Roots. She played those cassettes until they stopped working. Her first big festival was in Italy called Flip Out Festival, with Korn headlining. She had to take a train by herself in a new country without really knowing the language, but she loved the experience. Funny how she's now sharing stages with Korn. One day, the guitar player of Infected Rain and his friend invited her to sing for fun in their new project. Although she did it for fun, she was instantly hooked, and that's how the band started. It took 10 years, however, for the band to sign up with a label. They had offers from managers and labels, but nothing felt quite right. Hence, booking shows became challenging as people were hesitant to book an independent band. In addition, although Moldova has a lot of talented musicians and artists, it has no opportunities for the younger generation to evolve. The only way to survive would be to play in other countries. They had to work really hard for every single show, song, album, and festival despite financial difficulties. It was scary and hard. She says she's lost friends, loved ones, and partners because people don't stick around when you tour so much. In fact, their first music video brought in a shitload of haters, but they continue to believe in themselves. Over time, Lena got really addicted to singing, but realized that she had a lot to learn. When she approached her teacher to learn to sing for the first time, the teacher wasn't very enthusiastic because of her age. She was over 20 and the teacher thought that it was too late for her to start. In fact, the teacher told her straight up that if in her first lesson she felt like Lena wasn't cut out for singing, she would have to decline teaching her. Lena was nervous as fuck, but passed that first lesson and went on to be coached by that teacher for 3 years. Writing and singing became her therapy. Screaming became her way to let out emotion. In fact, she started writing lyrics in Russian initially and then in English when she was in university, way before joining the band. She listened to different vocalists scream like Sandra Nazik from Guano Ape, Corey Taylor and Randy from Lamb of God. Fun fact, she has 2 tattoos of vocalists who inspired her singing career. Chino Moreno from Deftones and Mitch Lucker from Suicide Silence. While her teacher taught her how to breathe and feel the music, she faced another challenge. Her teacher was a classical singer and couldn't teach her how to scream. So when her band would tour for many days, Lena couldn't scream anymore after 2 to 3 shows. It would leave her voiceless for days, which became physically painful and mentally frustrating. As the band picked up more and more shows, training to sing would sometimes bring up blood in her mouth. This led to sleepless nights and bad nightmares. It was then that she discovered Melissa Cross, a world-renowned vocal coach, and bought her DVD, The Zen of Screaming. She also later had the opportunity to meet Melissa in New York that she describes as more than a lesson. It was therapy. She learned how to deliver her emotions on stage without hurting her voice, and also to be comfortable with every sound that came out of her mouth. Today, Lena really takes care of her vocal cords with a proper warm-up pre-show and avoids talking too much after her show. In fact, she won't even talk to her boys in the band much so she can preserve, rest and recover her voice. She also carries cough drops on tour and throat coat tea. Lena continued to be a successful hairdresser for 12 years, even after joining the band. She was also a makeup artist, but she had to quit her career as a hairdresser when the touring made it impossible to block herself out for clients for months. Fun fact, she started modeling in her teens. At 19, she did her first photo shoot and worked with tattoo and horror movie conventions. Her pictures were printed in websites and magazines as a tattoo model. Lena has always been really good at sports growing up. She even practiced taekwondo as a kid. She's a very active person and is in great shape. She works out every day, lifts weights at the gym and hikes a lot. Being in nature makes her happy. She's one of those people disciplined enough to work out at home too. Lena also understands that she needs to make her body last as long as she can. If you're a fan of metal at the gym, you've got to check out our tees, tanks and hoodies made especially for metalheads who lift. I'm always getting stopped and asked where I got them from. They're super cool, so the link is in the description. Go check them out. She also loves dancing and yoga. On tour, she works out backstage or in a hotel room pre-show. Her ritual involves about 30 minutes to an hour of stretching and warming up, followed by her vocal warm-ups. She needs it. Her energy on stage is out of this world. She gets physically hurt a lot on tour because, in her own words, she jumps around like a crazy person as she gets so caught up in the moment and only realizes later when she has bruises everywhere. She's even broken a toe and hurt her ankle a few times. Lena makes sure to get good quality sleep, and on tour she carries a weighted blanket and her own special pillow to help her sleep better. It's not just physical activity that keeps her in such great shape. She started experimenting with veganism and loved the changes in her body and energy. She's very careful with what and how much she eats and also does fasting to clear her body and mind. Lena enjoys cooking and juicing. She shares several of her healthy recipes on her Instagram channel. Here's one with celery, apples, lemon, ginger and turmeric. She starts her day with water, loves Italian coffee and enjoys espresso with plant-based milk. Her meals and snacks are full of fresh fruit and vegetable. Her favorite fruit is pineapple. She likes Italian wine and the occasional Jägermeister. No beer, but because she doesn't drink very often, she gets drunk pretty fast. Her favorite food, vegan pizza and tacos, and her favorite ice cream, pistachio. Lena loves Queen and listens to it while preparing her breakfast in the morning. Hilarious fact! Her band, Infected Rain, once forgot their bass player at the gas station. He went to the restroom while they were fueling up their minivan. They left and noticed only 40 minutes later that he wasn't in the van. Luckily, he had his phone so they could go back and pick him up. They barely made it in time for their sound check. She doesn't need about 2 to 3 hours before a show, otherwise she finds it hard to scream. Avoids red bell peppers and onions as it's difficult to digest. So she eats super light pre-show, maybe a banana or an apple, and likes to stay hydrated. Lena has battled with depression her whole life, and so makes sure to keep herself busy but also makes time to relax. She focuses on self-care like reading, meditating, stretching, and also long baths that she can soak in for hours with bubbles and salt. She encourages people who are battling with depression to not cut themselves out from the world. Rather, surround yourself with people who genuinely love and care about you. Lena is covered in tattoos. She had her first tattoo at 16 with her mom's permission, of course, at a proper tattoo shop. It was a black and white angel behind her left shoulder, but is now covered by wings. She doesn't keep count of her tattoos and says that her body is one big canvas of art. She never planned to get her body covered. It's just been a collection of art that has meaning to her over the years. She's always had a thing for non-classic beauty. Interesting fact, her teeth are modified. She had them done for her music video Earth Mantra and loved them so much that she asked her dentist if she could keep them but make them a little shorter than the video. A lot of her tattoos are inspired by movies, especially horror and Disney. In fact, she even carries a Freddy towel on tour. She has a tattoo of Bram Stoker's Dracula, a movie she's watched over 1,000 times as a teen. A tattoo from The Fifth Element, Yoda from Star Wars, lots of cartoon characters like Rafiki from Lion King, Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio, Baymax, Super Mario, Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas, and more. The most painful tattoo she's had is on her neck and scalp. She said she could feel it inside her skull. Edward Scissorhands is her favorite character of Tim Burton's movies, and she sees herself in that character a lot. Apart from Chino Moreno and Mitch Lacco, she plans on getting more tattoos of musicians who've inspired her. But her favorite tattoo is of a Powerpuff Girl. As a child, she and her two sisters watched the Powerpuff Girls and they would pretend that they were them, saving the world like superheroes. All three sisters each have a tattoo of a Powerpuff Girl in the same inside arm spot. Lena has a whole video on her tattoos on her YouTube channel called Bananas, so go check that out if you want to learn more. Lena continues to receive an enormous amount of love and hate from people because she stands out so much. She knows that a lot of people don't agree with her lifestyle, her vegan diet, or screaming on stage or something. She can't please everyone. So to avoid all that stress, she just tries to be true to herself. She's had people either distance themselves from her or try to make her shut up because she's too real, too colorful, too loud. She's even had people make the sign of the cross at her and call her names. What? But she keeps reminding herself to be okay with the way she is and never fake it. She has 2 lessons for musicians who want to become the next Lena. 1. Don't try to become the next Lena. Be true to yourself. And 2. No matter how good you think you are, get a coach because there is always something that you can learn. Do you know another fit metalhead who's into horror movies and loves Tim Burton movies? Simona Simons, the symphonic metal queen from Epica. Go check out her journey of strength right here.